Hello my friends, we are in Luminar Neo and today we are talking about the new software update. We have the software update version 1.06 and this is a big one. I think this is an update you will love. It comes with Mask AI and it comes with Histogram tool. But before I will go into that and show you how it works, I just want to tell you this is a pre-release version and I'm filming this on May 11, 2022, and the final version is going to be released tomorrow for everyone to download. So if your version looks a little bit different than mine, that's because I have the pre-release version and they might change a few things or they might name the Mask AI some different name. So don't panic if yours looks a little bit different. I just have the pre-release version. And if something is completely different, I will make an update video about it. But today I had the time to film this, so here it is. Now with that out of the way, let's see how Mask AI works. I have this image over here. It's a pretty simple image. And when you go to edit, you will find your mask into each one of the tools on the right side. That's right. Every tool has a mask tab now. So when you go to develop, you will see your masking over here. So with any of the other tools. Now, what is really cool about this new Mask AI is that it detects up to 9 separate elements in the photo: people, skies, architecture, transportation, water, flora, mountains, natural ground, and artificial grounds. That if those items exist in your image. This image does not have any people, for example, so you won't detect a human. So let's see, I will just go to develop just for, we're not going to really edit this photo. I'm just going to show you how the masking works. And when you go to masking, you are greeted with a few choices. You can use a brush mask where you can just take your brush and paint on the portion of the area you want to adjust. And then you go to adjustments and you adjust it the way you want to. I'm going to reset that. You can also go to masking and use a linear gradient, and that's very handy for adjusting skies. And then you make your adjustments based on that gradient. I'm going to reset it. Or you can add a radial gradient, which is my favorite, and I use it on every single photo I edit. So now we have a radial gradient. Let me just create a new radial gradient and show you. If you're not familiar with masking, the mask starts from the center of the mask, and from the center to the first line, the adjustment, it does not affect the image at all. And then from this line to the outer line, this is where it feathers. So it slowly goes into affecting the image. And by the time it reaches this outer line, that is 100% affected, and so on for the edge of the image, it's 100% of the effect. So if I go now to my adjustment and bring down the exposure, you see the center was not affected. Then it has this feathering, and then the effect is at 100% around the radial gradient. So I hope that makes sense. Let's move on. We'll go for the next mask, and that is AI mask. And when you click on this, it comes this cool graphic on the screen where it analyzes your image, and it found 4 items on our image. It found the sky. If you click on it, you will see the mask for the sky. And then if you click again on it, it will deselect it. So click, it selects, click again, it is selected. Now you notice when I select the sky, we do have this haloing. It did not make a perfect selection. I will show you how to get around that. I will show you a little bit in this video, and then I will film another video where I go more in depth on how to use masking. So look out for that. It's coming out tomorrow as well. So when you see this video, the other video will be out as well. So that is sky. What else he found? He found the water, and that seems to be finding it pretty well. Then we have mountains. And he found some mountains, but it kind of messed up a little bit in here. And then we have natural grounds. And he kind of missed some parts in here too. So now we know exactly what he found in the image, and that's what I like to do before I even start editing any of my images. I want to see what the AI finds, because I can use those masks in my edits. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see. I will show you a cool little trick. Let's see how we would darken the sky without getting those halos. First, I will show you what, anyone that doesn't know how to mask will do. and they will just go to the adjustment, darken it. I'm just gonna darken it by 2 stops, something like that. And then you'll be tempted to go to masking, go to Mask AI, because we do have a sky mask, and when you click on that, it will just adjust to the sky. The problem is now when we go to adjustment, we can see we have this haloing, and you can take a brush and add to your mask and try to blend it in, but that's not gonna make a really great result. So I will show you exactly how I would do this. First, I would go to the adjustments and underexpose by 2 stops, just like in the other example, something like that. And then I would go to masking and take a linear gradient. And I'm going to draw a radiant gradient, something like that. And now we have a lot of feathering where the sky meets the mountains, so we will not see those haloing because it's a lot more gradual. But we do not want the adjustment to happen on the mountains, so the way to take care of that is to go to the AI mask. And don't worry, the mask disappeared from the sky, but it's still selected, it's still there. So now I'll go to AI mask and click on the mountains. And now we have selected the linear gradient and the mountains, which you would think that's not what we want, right? But remember, if we click it again, it deselects it. So by clicking again on the mountains, now we are removing the mountains from our gradient, and we are only applying the adjustment to the sky. And look at that, no halos. We have a nice darkening of the sky. This is the before and after, and we do not affect the mountains. So that is a cool little trick. Let's apply another develop, and maybe we want to darken the water. Now we can just go to the AI mask. We know that it found the water, so we can just simply go to the water. It selects it, to go to adjustments, and we can turn down the exposure. We can make it more blue if we want, and so on. So now that we saw how most of the masking works, let's go to a different example and do something a little bit more creative. Let's see, I have an example here. And we will work with this image. So let's see how we would edit this image using our new masking tool. Well, by looking at the image, the first thing I want to do, I want to darken the sky. And I will do that a little bit differently. I'm not going to go into the develop and use the sky adjustment or the linear gradient in that matter for this one. So I will go and I will apply an overlay gradient. This is a gradient that I had from a different edit, and I'm hoping it works in this image. Because I want to darken the sky and the sky is blue, I do not want this yellow on the top. I'm just going to flip it upside down to get my blue on the top. And then to darken it, I have to use one of the blending modes that darken things, which is this 3, darken, multiply, and color burn. If you do not understand blending modes, I do have a whole video about it. Just go watch that one. It has lots of examples and explains and details how to use blending modes. So I'll go with multiply and then reduce the opacity to somewhere around 40. Let's go with that. And now I can go to mask and I can use a linear gradient and only apply this to the sky, the top part of the image. There you go. And now this is our, let's see, this is our before and after, before and after. We darken the sky in a very natural look. Let's see what else can we do. Maybe we want to darken the water. Well, we can go to develop, we can go to masking, and we can go to AI mask. We'll see what kind of things it finds. And it did find some water. I'm gonna click on it, made a decent selection. It's not perfect, but we will fix it in a second. So with this mask, I am going to go back to mask, and I'm gonna use a brush to fix it. And I will paint in at maybe, let's say 60% or so. I'm just gonna paint on the edges where it kind of missed to just kind of feather it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, you do want it to look nice and not have haloing. So I'm just going to do this, maybe go into here too a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Now I will go to adjustment and I can just maybe reduce the highlights and the water. Something like that. So far we darkened the sky and we darkened the water. We could have just went to the hue and saturation and picked the blues and darken it. but we wanted to work with masking, so that's why we chose this route. Now let's use a different tool. We use develop, let's use landscape, and maybe we want to add some golden hour. And it's this nice golden hour. Maybe we just wanted to hit this little island over here with the trees. So now we can go to masking. We can either brush it in with a brush, or we can use a radial gradient. I'm just gonna brush it loosely, just on this side where the sun will hit it. Maybe add a little bit in here too. Something like that. And this is our before and after, before and after. Great. Let's see, maybe I want to darken this corner. How would we do that? I can go to develop, I can go to adjustments and darken the image, maybe about this much. And I can go to masking and use a linear gradient, and I will drag from this corner, something like that. And let's see, this is our before and after, before and after. And now our eye doesn't wander outside the frame here, just goes in the middle to these little trees on the little island. Great. What if I want to add a vignette to further darken the edges, but I do not want a vignette, the traditional black vignette. I want something more, well, something more creative. I'll go back to my same linear gradient that I had before. This time I'm not even gonna flip it. Or let's flip it. Okay, we'll go to our multiply blending mode that we used before. I'm gonna reduce the opacity, maybe something like that. And this time I will mask it with the radiant gradient. I'm going to drag from the center over here. And now we see the effect is happening on the outer edges, and we're protecting the little island. Go back to properties, and now we see it. This is our whole edit. This is the before and after, before and after. And this is how you would use Mask AI. Let's look a little bit into histogram, because histogram is another new one. And I'm going to choose a different example for this. Let's see, I will choose. What would be a good example? I'm just going to choose this one. And when you go to edit, you will find your histogram here on the top of your tools. If you do not see your histogram there, go to view and make sure show histogram is checked so you can see it. Now that we see it, we can see exactly it. We have no pure blacks over here, and we have some highlights. We are probably even clipping highlights. If you want to see if you're clipping highlights and shadows, check these little dots on the top. So right there, you see we are clipping highlights. So we have no information there. And then if you click on here, we are not clipping any blacks. But if I am moving my exposure down, or let's move the blacks, you will start seeing when I'm starting to clip the blacks, it's over there. And again, if I turn on the highlights, we can see where we're clipping highlights. I can try to bring in the highlights. You will make it into more grayish color. We will never be able to bring that detail back because it's not there. We're clipping it. That means there is no information in the image. I'm going to make a whole video about the histogram, how to read it and how to work with it. But for now, I just wanted you to see it. And you see when you click on it, you can go through every channel. This is all the color channels. This is the red, this is the green, this is the blue, and this is the luminance channel. We'll talk about that in a further video. I'm very, very excited about this whole new Mask AI and histogram, even though I did have, because I use a Mac, I did have a histogram before, was under develop and under curves. I could see the histogram over here. You see it's exact same histogram, and you can actually see it bigger on the curves. I like it better. But the Mask AI, it's a great, great improvement. And I know from the team, they told me that they're going to work hard in the next few weeks and months to really improve the selections on the masking to make it work a lot better and more accurate. But for now, I will take it. It's a good start. I am very excited, especially about radial filter. I use that one a lot. And the radial mask, I should say. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skyler Ewing. I will see you in my next video.